welcome to today's IDPro vlog, Getting to Know IDPro. We will be meeting with Janelle Allen. Janelle is the Cisco product manager of WebEx Identity and also a board member with IDPro. So welcome, Janelle.
Thank you, Rachel. It's nice to be here today.
I'm so glad you could take the time. We really appreciate it. I'm excited to ask you some questions, so we can just jump right in. Great. First, I think I'd like to know, how did you get involved in the identity industry?
It's a great question. I really feel like I grew up with the industry, and a long time ago, I was identifying that I started my identity experience as a consultant at a small company called Nulli Secundus in Calgary, Alberta. We did identity implementations for various customers. And, it was quite early on in around 2003. But I completely neglected the fact that I had worked ages ago prior to that. As a student, I worked at a very small company at the time. They were called FSA. And they were building a product that did privileged account management access. And that product today is known as Beyond Trust, because they were sold to McAfee and split off to Cymark, and that product exists today. And we now recognize that as part of the whole ecosystem of identity. And so really, I have to rewind my experience back to 1990, I think it's 1996, when I really started working with those products. And then even after that, I was working at another company where we built hyper-personalized cosmetic products for a major Fortune 500 company at the dawn of the .com era in the era of 2000. So I really have to take back my whole identity experience way earlier than this 2003 timeframe, where I originally looked into thinking that I was part of the identity industry. And so it's kind of one of those funny jokes on myself. I'm like, yeah, I've been in identity longer than I thought.
And it sounds like you were just sort of naturally drawn into it too. So that's a little bit perfect, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of drawn into it, so how did you come about the IDPro organization, or how did you get involved there?
Right. Well, I was really excited. Ian had done an announcement announcing the first, the coming about of this new identity organization, and a call for people to, sign and join this Founders Pledge and join as a member. So I was one of the first founding members of IDPro. And I was very aware that it is very difficult to become knowledgeable in identity systems. It's not ever an aspect that is taught in universities. Maybe it is now, or starting to be now. And it's really hard for people to get that experience, and you just kind of learn it almost by accident along the way. And as you're learning with other identity professionals, you realize you're bumping into the similar types of things, and people solve it different ways. And so I really felt it was really important to develop this industry association, as well as providing a community for other identity professionals to come together, because not everybody is situated in North America. They don't have access to, as many other resources sometimes. And so I really love the fact that IDPro is a worldwide organization providing access to this information to a wide variety of people. And also having that audience brings in their best, identity experiences around the world, because it's different. And, bringing that to the conversation is really a great thing. It's a great part of this organization.
So speaking of that conversation, and, the worldwide access to information and other professionals, you do something pretty special within the organization. I understand that you help manage and run the meetups that IDPro hosts. So
that's
can
right.
you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when COVID hit, we recognized that it was really hard for people to meet, especially given that the conferences might not be running and what was going to happen. And so we decided to launch IDPro meetups. We host them once a month. And they're a great community, and really wonderful, identity professionals have joined some of the top industry voices have come to those meetings and really provide a great conversation regarding different aspects of identity. It's a fun time to get to meet people. And what I love about it is that we will host them kind of in two different geographies. We'll host them in the US and in Europe, or we'll host them in the US and Eurasia, not Eurasia, I should say, Asia Pacific. And we'll get these voices from, Australia joining, or from, maybe Japan joining. And it's really fun to hear different people speak on different things or have different thoughts of different identity topics.
So how do people find out about the meetings, and how do they get involved with those?
That's a great question. So we have some marketing blips that come out on Twitter, and people can hear about them through Twitter. Really, they're accessible by IDPro members. We didn't want to be Zoom bombed, and we host them on Zoom, so we had to have a password on them. Really, we would open up them to pretty much anybody who's interested in identity who joins. So if you have a colleague who'd like to join, they don't necessarily need to be a member. You can just share them the password, and we share the password to that meeting in our Slack channels. So if you would like to join one of our meetings and it's being broadcast in our Slack channel when they're happening, you'll find the passcode to join there. And we'd love to see you and add your thoughts to the community.
So with, kind of thinking about the community, the industry, and what's to come in the next few years, I think everything was sort of impacted by the pandemic, obviously, and we've noticed a lot of that in the organization. But what are you most excited about for the next few years for the industry?
Well, I think that there is a huge shift underway. Of course, we've all been living through the pandemic, and that has been driving a lot of people to work from the homes. And I think it's tremendously exciting that people are going to get the opportunity to maybe work from home forever. With that shift, though, there needs to be a change into the infrastructure that supports those people working from home. And there's going to be a big shift in the way companies manage that infrastructure, and who they can get to manage it for them, because it's going to be a lot more than they did before. And they might need to have people who have expertise in managing cloud-based systems as well as their traditional systems, and how to shift through that. So really providing seamless ways of allowing their users to join and do that. I think personalization and having people have a personalized experience wherever they are, if they're in the office or if they're at home, they feel at home when they log into their digital identity, through their digital identity system, to access whatever services they are, because they can. And I think that's going to be tremendous.
Great. Yeah, I think the skills survey that's going to be coming out soon, I think definitely touches a little bit on that that topic of the new environment and how that's going to be addressed. So good stuff. Well, thank you so much for chatting today, Janelle. This was a wonderful conversation, and look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Thank you, Rachel.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.